This week's video I'm going to pull apart a perfectly good 24 plates Mercedes-Benz Sprinter and paint it. I'm Dan, this is Crafted Camper Co, and here we build bespoke, high-level luxury camper vans. I like to video the whole process and put it on YouTube every week so you can see how the builds are progressing. And that's because I'm in the business of building high-level luxury camper vans. And off the back of a very successful week last week installing the Portuguese cork Rolls-Royce Starliner ceiling. It's now time to give a little bit of love to the exterior, and the way that we're going to do that is take off all of the plastic trims all around the van, paint them Raptor black, and then the sills and the bumpers underneath are all going to be Raptor black as well. Get everything matching, nice and rugged and off-road looking, and then we're going to put on some new alloys as well. So really looking forward to putting on the off-road rugged white letter wall tyres alloys to make it look absolutely wicked. As always, there's chapters below if you do want to skip along to something in particular, but I do encourage you to watch the whole video because I try to make everything as informative as possible and answer all the questions that you guys ask me along the way. Here's a little sneak peek of what you can expect this week. Follow me now, we've just had a massive delivery, literally, and as part of the build, massive. The alloys. One thing that can massively transform a build is sticking on some nice alloys. For the first build, we used Rogue alloy. Absolutely great guys down there. They've really looked after us and they've done exactly the same again, fitting the budgets and requirements of this build and also the specific visual look that I want to go for. So these are what I've gone for. So on this build, still gone for the off-road look, still gone for the rugged build, but these particular, absolutely stunning. Again, gone for black to match the silver and then black tones, so similar to like Project 1 that we've got outside. Had more of the off-roady looking hard rims there, but we're going to go for the same colour pattern so you can see why the black wheels fit really well. There's another one there, and we've gone for the white wall tyres as well. And these ones are a little bit more road friendly compared to the off-roading AT3s on Project 1, and that just really suits my customers. The way that they're going to be using it suits making sure it's not like overkill or anything like that. So I'm excited to get these original Steelies off, get these absolutely bad boys on. Now that the water system on the driver's side of the vehicle is just getting its final few touches, it's time to have a look at the power system as well. So one of the ginormous benefits of using one of the Clayton power systems is pretty much everything is in there. I've just had a draw, measure up and organised to get everything cut just like I have done the water side. It's much more simple on this side. It's all just going to be in a box. There's going to be a rectangular box about this high, just matching on that side underneath the bed. It's going to have the Clayton power unit down at the back, room for wiring behind. There's about a 15cm cavity there, and then above you're going to have the domestic breaker switch thing, as well as a couple RF dimmer control units for the lights and your fuse board. The fuse board's just going to go on top. As well, I'm going to put in a kill switch for the solar, because even though you've got kill switches for the 230 volt, the 2 and the 12 volt on the Clayton, as well as a remote switch up front. You don't have a kill switch for the solar, so I'll be able to turn that off on there. But it just makes it dead easy. It's just a big square box, so I need to do 6 cuts of 40cm and 12 cuts of 90. So lovely and easy. I'm going to go crack on. Safety goggles are a must. You can see the blood on it from last time. Whenever I'm using the extruded aluminum, I keep offcuts, as anybody does. This is my offcut box, and from longer ones in there, shorter ones in there. And for the 11 at 39cm and 4 at 66, I managed to get the entire box all out of offcuts, which is absolutely wicked. That's really satisfying. There was one stray bar left right at the back just for that final 66. Just the little wins in line. And there's the finished cage. There's the power unit, just nicely snug up to there. There's a lip on it, so I've used the lip to just tuck it in. This is going to be covered up and over and on the top and on the back. And then there's just going to be a little access port here where you can get in and see your fuses, your switches, different things like that. That's why, rather than putting this right at the back, I've pushed it forward by 100mm, and that then allows, there's a little space here, you can put all the different things on, you can reach in and interact with them. And there's also then room behind, so then all of the wires and everything that are coming out, they're not immediately touching the van, they've got a bit of room for spooling. And then the unit down here is open at the front. There's going to be vent holes in the back, but it's also just got a bit of room for breathing, just in case it does heat up. Also painted the different boards and everything for the electrical garage. Inside the electrical garage is going to be this main control board. So on here we're going to have the main 12-volt fuses, recognisable fuse board there. And then also we've got the domestic switch, which will have the 3 plugs, an induction hob, a heater, Ninja oven on one side. And these are rated or calculated, and so one's 16 and one's 20 amps just for the max that they can pull. The idea being, if they do pull any more power, if any more power goes through the wires, these will flick and turn off, stopping the power running to the wires. The wires are all rated for 25 amps, so they're overrated and safe, but these will flick off sooner than what the wires will, so then the wires don't heat up and cause a potential electrical fire risk. On the other side of the board we have the DC to DC battery switch, which we can turn on and off. That essentially just isolates the power coming from the main starter battery. If you do need to do any maintenance or anything, you can just turn that completely off. The majority of the time I would just keep that on. And then you've also got the solar panel, just a way to be able to isolate the power coming from the solar panel, which is especially important because, of course, if you're parked outside, there's always going to be an electrical charge coming from the solar panel, and you can't really flick a switch to turn them on and off, so there's an isolation switch there. Finally, I've got these. These are a great product where you just do your regular lighting for your wiring for your lighting. And then run them through these in one end, out the other, and these can just be then programmed. Just turn the screw to fade in and out, which for me it's a nice upgrade. And whenever you get into the van, turn the lights on with the touchscreen, they'll then just slowly fade on or fade off, as opposed to just being flick switch on. Just a bit more luxury, a bit better feeling, and I think it'll just really level up the van. It worked great in the first van. We're going to do the same on this one. The big thing with this one as well is just I'm going to keep access to them there, so if anybody does ever want to either maintain them or change how quick or how slow they fade in and out, you've got easy access to them there, just with a screwdriver, turn them up and down. Now all the electrics are in, and this box is ready to be put into the van, hooked up to all of the different wires and appliances in there. I thought it was a good opportunity just to run through exactly what everything is, so if anybody's got any interest, you can see how I organise my wiring, and maybe take some inspiration for a build you've got, or appreciate the work that I put into doing these ones. So this main box is comprised of 2 parts, the bottom and the top. On the bottom we've got cut out where the main Clayton power unit is going to be is housed and is locked down in the van, and then this just sits over the top and fixes into the floor. And then the top part, they're going to have a top on here. There's going to be a light which is then hooked up to this little switch. You can turn the light on and you can have a look first of all, we've got a wire coming from underneath up and into a 100 amp fuse. The wire's coming directly from the main battery, so that's coming up into here. Out the back, it splits off into two. We've got one which comes up to power the 12 volt system, and we've got a second one on a bus bar behind, which then will go to the other side of the van for the second fuse board. Top of the fuse board, we've got the earth and a nice little crafted Camperco medallion up there as well, which you can just see. Then this is just the wires for the LED light. Currently coming out here, we've got three lights. We've got the main ceiling lights, the ambient lights which are going to be dotted throughout the van, and the cabinet lights. These all come out the back and then come into these fade drivers. So these are essentially, you've got your input and your output, and you've got a push input if you want to add an additional button onto them. But what you can do is you can just turn the dials here, which have 1 second, 3 seconds, 5, 10 and 20 seconds. You can adjust all of them, so then when you turn the lights on, rather than just flashing on, they'll slowly fade on and fade off. Just a nice little touch. So they currently have the inputs. Of course, once you put them into the van, we'll then have the outputs going to the fixtures themselves. This device down here is a savvy stance, so onto the screen, a bit more details on that when we go into the van. But essentially that's just a gyroscope which just detects the level of the van, and you can monitor on the screen via Bluetooth. You just need a power and an earth to this. You can see what position the van's in, so you're not sleeping on the slope. And until we put this into the van now, that's all of the 12 volt system which is going to be powered. We then have the 12 volt system which is going to be charged. So coming from the roof, we've got the solar panel. Comes into this isolation switch which you can turn on and off. Turning it on and off, of course, just allows maintenance and just control of the system to stop it from charging when you don't want it to. That then wire comes round the back and into the battery. Same for the DC to DC charger as well. So again, you've always got a small voltage coming from your DC to DC charger. You can manually then turn this off if you don't want it to pull anything, either for peace of mind, maintenance, or just for safety if you are going to be touching wires and things like that underneath. And then finally, we've got the switch. It doesn't have its case on it just yet, but the 230 volt from the inverter that's inside the Clayton will come up through into here, and these are going to be individually then put onto breakers. So we've got one 16 amp breaker which is going to be for the water heater on the far side, and then we've also got a 20 amp fuse which is going to be for the induction hob and the plugs which I'm going to put onto the to the passenger side. And the wire is rated to 25 amps, 32 amps, sorry. So plenty of usage there for any of the requirements of the van. This week I'm getting a massive delivery. Really excited that they're all ready. I'm going to go pick up the seats. They've all been reupholstered with crafted Camperco branding, so I can't wait later on in this episode just to show you exactly what they look like. I'm going to get the front swivels and everything, put them up all in place. So another big thing of that will be this floor. So the placement of the fourth seat in the back is dependent on where this line finishes. This is just a timber floor to lift up. It extends all the way through the swivel seat on the bench, swivel seat on the drivers, and a regular seat on the fourth. Just gives you somewhere to pop your feet. Because they're van seats, they're lifted quite high up, so this just gives you a really nice way for you to just pop your feet onto the floor. So the way that this is going to work is we've got the sub base here. I'm going to do all the wiring and the pipes all through it. Then we've got the floor which goes on top, and I think kind of with the vibes of the Campervan, I'm going to use the material that I've used on the Terra Wagon trim kit. So I'm going to put a couple of layers of scrim foam down. So then you've got the hard, easy to clean floor, and then the idea is you take your shoes off when you're in the Campervan, when you sat down, and then you can pop your feet on some nice, almost like carpet. So that's the idea. Let's see how it looks. First of all, I'm just going to cut a hole in the back there, so then the pipe which is routed all through it can then come out easily and into what will be the base of the fourth seat. this is the top. It's got a hole in it. I guess there's some built-in storage. So first of all, I'm going to use a big piece of material to get this covered. And the way that it attaches is underneath. It clips in with these pre-routed holes. This flooring has been made for 2 captain seats. So you can see that the touts are here and here. I've still got a bench, so I'm just going to cut a piece and attach it just there, just to fill the gap in, just then it's nice and continuous. There's a dry fit of the floor. I've got a nice aluminium trim around the top, the lights underneath. As you can see, I quite like the angular laminate on the bottom. It's the same laminate as what's on what I'm going to use for all of the cabinets and everything. And then the carpet on top with it foam underneath, just to give it a nice bounce. It's obviously where your feet are going to go, so I thought something a little bit softer and a bit warmer for when you do put your feet down. For the rear doors of the van, I have gone for a bit of an uprated option compared to the last build. This product is fantastic for storage, it's fantastic for covering the rear doors, and it all comes as part of a kit just to install, so it makes my life a lot easier as well. So currently at the moment, I'm just insulated behind, so there's sound deadening, a layer of the insulation foil, and then the recycled bottle insulation on top. And then I've gone for these DerMoon Maxi door organisers. So these are a board which are then lined in anthracite, which will, as you can see, goes nicely with the material that I've already got in the van. So that's the top, and then we've also got a second card which then goes on the bottom. So these have got integrated storage pockets and hooks. Fantastic in a van really for everything that you'll need. Gives it a bit of a utilitarian look. And one thing that, and a decision that kind of swayed me on this one, was whenever this was a brand new Sprinter that had been ply lined from the factory, when they ply line it, you get all of these stray screw holes, which, you know, leaving that exposed, it's just, yeah, it's not very nice. So rather than having the DerMoon fixtures that go on the insides, these Maxis covered the entire door and covered those holes. And the way that you install them is you drill through in a number of spots, and then roof nut into the sheet metal of the van, and then put a bolt through and bolt them on.
While Dan takes a quick break, why don't you take a minute to like this video and subscribe to Crafted Camper Co. Your support really does help grow the channel and let us carry on growing and build on what we are currently doing. Alternatively, you can keep up to date on our other socials on Facebook by searching Crafted Camper Co. Instagram by following @Crafted Camper Co. On everyone's favorite, TikTok by following @Crafted Camper Co.
First time.
Or visit our website, www.craftercamper.co. And seeing as Dan is getting nowhere at getting the ball in the hoop, back to work he goes.
An incredibly exciting way to start the week is I've got the seats back. They're all been freshly upholstered. A little bit later on in the video we'll get to that. Underneath the seats, because the front two and the driver's then single seat, they're going to be put on swivels. And so from R&J Camper Solutions, really great company to get the seat swivels from. They're all M1 pull crash tested. That's them. Reached out to them for a couple of different things. They're incredibly helpful, so I do highly recommend if you are after some swivel bases. They do a really good kit. So this one with the drivers and the passenger's bench, I've got a full kit with ability to drop the handbrake as well, which is needed when you're swiveling that front driver's seat round. There is one slight hurdle which I've come to, and I think it's to do with the 2019 onwards. Some of the passenger bench seats have a connector underneath. This connector, I believe, for the seat occupancy, it's for the seatbelt click, and it just feeds back the information on a loop, on a wiring loom back to the van, just to give it information for your seat occupancy and things like that. the seat swivel that you get from R&J, some Sprinter variants must have a slightly different system in them. As you can see here on the one that you get. So because of course you're putting a swivel in between the original base and underneath the seat, where the wires used to go up and connect, they now need to go through the new swivel. And so R&J have kind of provided an extension of that wiring loom with a female and male plug on this side. But as you can see, they're completely different. So I've given them a call. Like I said, they've been very helpful. And what I've had to do is taught myself a new skill. On the first van, we snipped, soldered, extended, and then reheat shielded everything. It took absolutely forever, although it was a good job, and I'm quite proud of the technical side of it. And I've now just got a new tool to make life a lot easier. Rather than trimming and extending everything, I've managed to just push the pins out of this connector. Seems quite obvious now that I've done it. It's a much easier way to do it. It means then that these wires, now that they're all labelled and I've taken pictures of them to make sure they go back in the right place, I can then feed this up and through the new swivel, and then on the other side then re-pin this connector, and it's a bit more manufacturer plus then. Although I've got no worries with the first van, the amount of time that that's just saved is probably about 3 hours, which is fantastic. This is the handbrake lowering bracket, designed to lower the bracket by 40mm, just to then allow the seat to swivel around. So there's just 2 bolts and you need to undo and redo them with these ones. Yeah, make sure it all works. Now that I've got the swivel for the first base put in, time to offer up the chair to it. So for a nice big reveal on the reupholstered chairs, I've decided with this build, as a lot of campervan builders do, when it comes to buying a van, you do get very workman vibe seats in the front. So one of the biggest improvements you can do is getting it all reupholstered in a more quality material, more luxury material as well. It's not going to be used as a workman's van, it's going to be used as a luxury camper, so we've got to get some seats to match. I've designed these, and the guys down at Trim Mat in Telford, they've done an absolutely fantastic job, been really supportive all the way through. Can't speak of them highly enough, and highly recommend anybody that's wanting to first of all like level up in the campervan, but also just get a really personalised touch. Go to them guys, get a free quotation, they're absolutely brilliant. So here they are. So we've gone for an Alcantara, or an Alcantara look. Nice and simple, very you know, not too out there, whilst getting a really lovely finish, more like a sports finish with the Alcantara, really leveling up the material, and the inner ribs here. So I've gone for a bit more of like an old school rib design on the back, and the material that we've used is exactly the same material which is in the rest of the van. So it's the same as the walls and what will be on the back there, and then it's the same as what's on the roof up the top all the way around. So as you can see, they're going to fit absolutely beautifully into a van of the same colour match. But then, dead proud moment. When I first saw this, it took me back a little bit. I was really proud to stick Crafted Camper Co logo onto here. Now rather than going for the full logo with a van on it and being quite out there, I wanted something a little bit more subtle. And so the guys down there between us, we suggested getting the Crafted logo there. I initially sent them over a design with it being in black, but then they suggested that they can get a stitch which matches the colour of the marine vinyl, which I hope you agree looks absolutely phenomenal. And then their suggestion is to match the stitching for the rest of the seats in exactly the same. So that's the original bench seat which came out of the van. That's the original driver's seat with the armrest. Both look great. And then this is the fourth seat. So the fourth seat we first my kind of initial thing was, I'll just have a look online, see if I can get another one of the passenger side seats or driver side seats just to go at this location here. But one big thing is then, where are you going to mount the seatbelt? Because of course with the bench seat, I've got a seatbelt integrated into them, but that's on the double. For the rest of the van, you've got the seatbelts integrated into the chassis. Now where the seat's going to be living, just here, I've got a window right there, so I've got actually nowhere to mount the seatbelts themselves. So I've had to go for a seat which has got an integrated seatbelt into it. Oh, it's absolutely brilliant. I think it looks glass. It's extra comfort. There's loads of cushion in it, and it also reclines. You push that all the way forward and it reclines by about 15 degrees. I just wanted to add a nice little touch as well. So for the material which is on the Terrawagon trim tidy kit, I've then just added that down to the bottom here, and I'm going to box off the bottom just to enclose it all, make it look nice and get it all matching. I'm going to use the same material down the bottom too. Hope you like them. Let's get them stuck in. There's just a couple of locating pins on the bottom, which is cut into the R&J swivel base. So I'm just lining them up now. There we go. We're nicely lined up. A little bit of a wipe down of the transport. That is going to look absolutely class. Let's get it fixed up. And this is the passenger swivel base put on top of the bench seat. As you can see, what used to be the yellow plug, taking all the pins out, and they just fit through there. I can then reattach the pin now, the plug with all of the pins, make sure they're in the right location, and then we can get the passenger seat on and see what these swivels look like. We've got a couple of weeks left now to really get into the bones of getting the final walls up, getting the bed in place. We're really going to have that nice bump which you do get at the end of a project, where everything starts to come together and it feels like you make loads of progress in a little amount of time. Thank you very much for joining this week. Please subscribe, it means a lot for my numbers and pushes the channel out there. And if you've got a build that you want me to take a look at, quote, and even just give some advice on, get in touch. It's dan@craftedcamper.co. We're looking for build number 3 now, so let me build your campervan for you. Make it look as beautiful as this. Cheers.